Hi there, Doug Stuman with IT Creations. Today we'll be taking a look at a custom gaming rig we put together for a client. At its heart is an AMD Ryzen 5950X desktop processor with 16 cores and 32 threads. This is the best gaming CPU that AMD has released, but that's not all. To complement that AMD 5950X processor, we've also got an Asus Prime X570-Pro motherboard, and all of this is going into a Corsair iCUE 4000X RGB case with transparent side panel to highlight an MSI 3080 GPU. Let's take a look. These AMD Ryzen 9 family processors are not just good for gaming, they're also great for developers and digital artists, 3D animators, architects, engineers, plus anything else where you need powerful graphic performance and speed. This AMD Ryzen 5950X has both and features AMD's Zen 3 architecture. It was just released at the end of 2020. We'll be pairing that CPU with a GeForce RTX 3080 GPU from MSI, which is going to provide a kick-ass gaming experience. So yes, benchmarks are forthcoming. But let's check out the guts of this system. The Asus Prime X570-Pro is a great little single-socket motherboard. It supports all the new AMD Ryzen processor features, including PCI 4.0 and SLI for use with NVIDIA graphics cards. It also offers Crossfire support, which is AMD's version of multi-GPU technology. This board can support DDR4 4400 MHz memory, but with only 4 DIMM sockets and 2 memory channels, it will max out at 128 GB with 32 GB memory modules in each socket. It also has a nice little feature with a one-click 5-way optimization to automatically optimize overclocks and intelligent cooling for both CPU and GPU-centric tasks. Aurasync Rgb gives you control of RGB lighting effects supported by the various components. There are several addressable headers for connecting additional RGB components like LED lighting strips. In the lower right, next to this chipset fan, 6 SATA 6GB storage connectors support basic RAID levels. If you want to add additional fans, there are plenty of headers for that too. Did you know IT Creations is a custom integrator of AMD processors and components? We provided professional workstations for many of the major studios in the Los Angeles area. We can build you a custom rig like this beast we have today, or a high-performance workstation. We can even outfit your entire staff so they can meet that tight cutoff for special effects. Did I mention we offer rentals? If you're on a tight time frame, we usually have the parts on hand to send it out for next day. Give IT Creations a call. You'll be surprised at not only the level of service, but the quality of the products. Don't call just to chat though. We have systems to build, data centers to fill. We're busy. There are quite a few utilities that come with the Asus Prime X570-Pro to ensure that you get the most out of the system, including Armory Crate for centralized account management, plus management of the lighting effects. It also offers an easy-to-use UEFI BIOS for more granular control over critical settings, with an easy mode for beginners and an advanced mode when you feel more confident. The AMD Ryzen 5950X processor has 16 cores, 32 threads, and a base clock speed of 3400 MHz, or 3.4 GHz. It can boost to 4.9 GHz and only consumes 105 watts of power while delivering the best gaming experience. The CPU supports DDR4 memory modules, but only up to 3200 MHz, and remember, the board can support up to 4400 MHz DDR4 memory, so I think we all know where this is going. Is it VR ready for use with Oculus Rift, HTC Vive, or Windows Mixed Reality premium head-mounted displays? Yes, it is. Again, plenty of heat sinks on this board, with one for the chipset and the adjacent M.2 socket. There's also a few on top. There are actually 2 M.2 PCI 4.0 compatible slots, just one without the heatsink provided by Asus. The Asus Prime X570-Pro board has a bunch of ports in back, including 2 USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports, 4 3.2 Gen 2 ports, with a display port and an HDMI port squeezed in between. Then you have a 1 gigabit Ethernet LAN port, more USB ports, and an 8-channel audio. There's a mix of PCI 4.0 slots on the system board, and depending on what processor you install and how you configure the system, only certain slots are available. With the AMD Ryzen 5000 series, you will have use of 2 PCI 4.0 by 16 slots. The AMD X570 chipset provides 4 more PCI ports, including 1 by 16 slot with a by 4 electrical lane and 3 by 4 slots with a by 1 electrical lane. The board, when outfitted with the 5000 series processors, will support up to 3 AMD cards using Crossfire X technology, or a 2-way SLI connection with dual NVIDIA cards and an SLI bridge. As you can see from those specifications, you will need a thermal solution, which is not included. Providing the thermal answer is the Corsair iCUE H100i RGB Pro XT liquid CPU cooler. If you want to achieve those max boost levels, you will need more than adequate cooling for that CPU, and this little baby does the job with a 240mm radiator plus 2 Corsair ML120 PWM fans, not to mention the additional fans, and the GPU fans. LED RGB lighting effects for the fans can be controlled from the iCUE software utility. You can use it to control the lighting effects on other Corsair products too. Our Crucial Ballistics RGB DDR4 32GB memory modules use the Ballistics mod application for lighting effects, and they otherwise have a matte black finish. The Corsair iCUE 4000X RGB tempered glass mid-tower ATX case will house our Asus Prime X570-Pro board and has a transparent side panel. The control panel is on top of the chassis towards the front for easy access and includes the power on button plus a combo headphone microphone jack and a few USB ports. Another excellent feature are the integrated dust filters on the bottom, top, and side to limit invasive dust bunnies and causing it to overheat. With the 4000X, you get 3 Corsair Air Guide RGB fans with Lightning node core and iCUE software for control of the RGB lighting colors and effects. The fans are included with the kit and connect to the motherboard from the Lightning node core via a USB connector. You can add a few more fans too and plug into one of the available headers on the Asus X570 motherboard. These Corsair fans are quite silent, even operating at 4K under full bore. This case also comes in white with gray accents, but we settled for basic black with silver accents to match the motherboard. The transparent panel is tinted for slightly subdued lighting. With a rapid mount cable routing system, you get a few Velcro straps to neatly connect all those cables together behind the motherboard, ensuring a very clean look. If you'd rather highlight your cabling, the side panels on the iCUE case are interchangeable. 2 SSD mounts are located on the back of the motherboard mounting panel. The drive brackets can also be moved and placed on top of the power supply. Another HD cage at the bottom supports 2 3.5-inch drives and can be repositioned or even removed, depending on your setup. You can even mount your GPU vertically using a PCI 3.0 extension cable sold separately. Our MSI GeForce RTX 3080 was too fat for that, so we mounted it directly into the top PCI slot. For the main boot drive, we have a 1TB Corsair Force Series Gen 4 NVMe M.2 drive. This one is the MP600. This little unit can and will take advantage of those PCI 4.0 speeds this board and processor support. In other words, a sequential read of 4,950 megabytes and a sequential write of up to 4,250 megabytes with an endurance rating of 1,800 terabytes written. It also has its own little heatsink. Power is provided by a Seasonic Prime GX 1000 PSU, offering 1,000 watts of 80+ gold-rated power. It's a modular unit that will pop right into our case and offers plenty of power connectors. That PSU will be more than sufficient to meet the needs of that MSI GeForce RTX 3080 Gaming X Trio 10GB GPU. That GPU requires up to 340 watts of dedicated juice. It also has integrated RGB lighting effects. The GPU uses the MSI Mystic control panel to control the lighting effects, and you can make them sync with the other lighting effects applications. We can also snap in some LED lighting wherever we want with next-gen addressable RGB lighting strips that plug into the 4-pin RGB header connectors on the board. With a few lighting strips installed inside the case, you can make it sync with the music or pulse to the rat-a-tat-tat of whatever is happening in your game. The GeForce RTX 3080 is of course one of the hottest GPUs for gamers at the moment, offering incredible performance at a fairly reasonable price point, so obligatory benchmarks are required. So how did our Zen 3 architecture AMD Ryzen 9 5950X 16-core 3.4 GHz processor perform? Very well indeed. Running Cinebench 2.0, it achieved a score of 24,493 points. You can see just above that one, the AMD Ryzen Threadripper with 32 cores produced a score of 30,054 points. And then there's the AMD Ryzen Threadripper 3990X 64-core processor with a score of 24,596 points. On the other hand, the 16-core AMD Ryzen 3950X processor featuring Zen 2 architecture provides a more appropriate comparison and shows numbers of 8,990 points at 3.5 GHz. When we look at that one in comparison to our 5950X, performance is increased by a factor of 2.7. Keep in mind the 3950X was the world's most powerful 16-core desktop processor, while the 5950X is the world's best desktop processor. Okay, so the 5950X wins over the 3950X by a mile, and then some. But keep in mind, the 3950X is the last generation and features Zen 2 architecture, while our 5950X delivers AMD's latest Zen 3 architecture. Our testing of the MSI GeForce RTX 3080 GPU using the TimeSpy and the 3D Mark benchmarking application displayed an average score of 16,256 points, which is smoking hot. Have you ever watched that show Forged in Fire, where 3 or 4 blacksmiths compete and 2 actually create an historical weapon at the end as the final challenge? And then one of the judges, Doug, who's a martial arts blade master, uses their newly forged blades to cut the crap out of a pig carcass? Once he's done and the blade didn't break, he says, "Your blade will kill." Well, we did just test this GPU under stress, and I'm here to tell you, this GPU will game. Oh yes, it will. In fact, at this performance level, it says we could play Battlefield 5 in 1440p Ultra mode at 155 frames per second. Oh, and those monitors look fantastic, don't they? By the way, our other custom workstation, running a Threadripper 64-core CPU with an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2080 Ti, produced a score of 9,524, which is very respectable, but clearly no match for the next generation GeForce RTX 3080. And there you have it, the latest from AMD's CPU foundries, plus an MSI GeForce RTX 3080 GPU. With all those RGB LEDs, this system looks as good as it performs. Just look at the numbers on those benchmarks. It's an impressive system for both work and play, but this one we built specifically for play. We can build one for you too. Remember, IT Creations is a custom integrator of AMD products. We build custom workstations for use in special effects, 3D animation, and other entertainment-related applications. We can definitely build you a custom gaming system or provide you with the components for your own build. If you are interested in this rig, or if you have something else in mind, contact IT Creations. Until then, hit that subscribe button, or leave a comment or question. I'm Doug Stuman with IT Creations, and thanks for watching.